Hi, how are you? It's Pleasance here from Little Ohm, and I just finished writing to you all about why I think it's so important to keep a yoga practice, a physical yoga practice, in our lives these days. So, hopefully, you'll get a chance to read that. Um, it's on the blog, Little Ohm Life blog. But one thing that is really hard to put in writing, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit with you, is this idea of our masculine and feminine energy, our sun and moon energy. Um, Yin and yang energy and how that comes into our life. So I talk about this all the time. I love the concepts and the ideas and the layers that Hatha Yoga was grounded in, that Chinese medicine talks about, that Ayurveda talks about. In Buddhism, we call it the middle way, the middle path. Like, there's so many ways that we can talk about this general idea. And the part that I'm obsessed with lately is just how incredibly relevant it is to our lives, and how the more that I study it and the more that I pay attention to it, really the more physical and mental benefits that I'm feeling in my body and in my connections and in my work. And that, again, just continues motivating and inspiring me to dig in and to ask the questions around these energies. So last week I was listening to a podcast, and the interviewer, they were talking about this energy stuff, masculine and feminine, and why energy is so important in our life, modern life. And the interviewer told a story, a classical story, which I'd never heard. And it so profoundly really emphasizes what I've been studying. And so here's the story. Masculine representation of a god, of a being, of someone in the world, and the feminine representation of basically the opposite of that. And so they're out in the world. The masculine is really focused on ego and doing and pushing and strength. And the feminine is really emphasized on the softness, the surrender, the creativity, a little bit. It's just that softer, slower rhythm, right? Females can have tremendous masculine energy and males can have tremendous female energy. It's not about gender. It's about the intention and the sort of vibrancy behind it. So you can picture that masculine, go, go, go. I have a very significant period in my life, actually 2 or 3 periods where I can think of that were very driven, very ego, very push, work, 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 go, 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 from how I exercised to how I ate, to how I worked, to how I treated myself, to how I treated others. And the other side of that is that more relaxed, more trusting state of creative flow, of the quiet, of allowing stillness, of clarity of presence, right? It's not thinking, thinking, thinking. It's more like dropping in. I hear a lot of people use that phrase. So we need both, right? So anyway, the story goes back to there's this masculine representation and this female representation, and when they come together, they birth a child, and the child's name is Joy. And I heard this story and pressed stop and just stood still for a moment. I was out walking because I could not believe how clear and how spot on, and how relevant it felt to what has been happening in my own life in the past 3-4 years. And how knowing and studying and being a student of my inner life and my outer work and how I relate as a mother, wife, daughter, granddaughter, and all without all of those labels and all those identities, just me, my own truth, my own intuition. I'm walking towards joy. I'm moving towards joy all the time. I can feel it, and it's not fake. it's authentic, and life is hard and hard things happen, and I feel them, and I can feel this sense of lightness and the sense of purpose and the sense of joy that I never felt when I was living in the extremes. And so I love this story. I love the idea of the bringing together of the energies in order to gift joy, in order to birth joy in our lives. And I want to explore all the ways that we do that. So I hope this is helpful. I want it to be relevant. Some of the ways that it can show up in your life is in terms of your movement practices and varying them throughout the year, throughout the season of your life, based on if your work is very masculine energy or feminine energy, or sun and moon is another way we can talk about it. So an example would be if you're on a really sun project, a really intense project at work, then it would be really important to balance out your energy by having some moon practices at home. So that could look like floor yoga, restorative yoga, Epsom salt baths, quiet meditation at night, a lot of grounding, a lot of sort of dark, quiet, peaceful as much as possible. And if you have children, I know that can be challenging, but I'm happy to talk with you about ways to do that. And on the opposite side of that, if you're in a more quiet time of your life, maybe your kids have just left the house, or you're not working full time right now, and you're just kind of in a more drifty time of your life where you don't have a lot of tasks or to-dos or a lot of yang sun energy, then it's really important for you to put that type of practice into your life, that kind of discipline, that kind of energy, in terms of maybe some core work, maybe some strengthening work, especially if it's not part of your constitution, sort of how you're built. If you're a little bit softer and rounder and slower, then for you to have that joy, it's important for you to have a little of that masculine energy in really every day. I mean, now I'm exploring this to the point where I'm balancing, 2 or 3 hours of computer, writing, teaching, sort of this very high level energy work, very thoughtful, and then I'll take a break for 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, sometimes an hour of a restorative yoga practice, a walk, a quiet walk with no music or noise or podcasting, maybe a nap. So playing with, again, that's like my value, one of my main core values is freedom and flexibility. And so for me, I would rather work a little bit 7 days a week than work really intensely for a few days and then have days totally off. My flow rhythm is a little bit, I have the flexibility and the freedom to really adjust my schedule as I see my children's lives are busy, my husband, family members, the school, my work for Little Ohm. So I'm impacted by all of these things, and there's seasons. Right now it's winter, it's very cold today, so there's seasons where it's just better for that joy practice, for that stability, and for that health, for us to take into consideration what kind of masculine energy are we living in, and is around us. Sometimes we can't control it. And so then we drop into our breathing, we go a little bit deeper. So I'm really excited for you to explore this topic. If you have any questions, pleasance@littleohm.com. I'd love to hear from you and see how you're going to integrate these energies into your life to create that joy. So namaste. I hope this helps.